What, we some kind of suicide squad?
I am Iron Man.
You are a toy!
I live my life a quarter mile at a time.
Server Anakin! I have the high ground!
I'm gonna steal the Declaration of Independence.
I'm simply saying that life, finds a way.
Welcome back to the Big Movie Boys podcast, the only podcast starring 3 Oscar-winning actors. I'm your host, Jeremy Baumner. With me, as always, is Bob Liebel.
Hello, everybody. How we doing today?
And Ben Stitch.
Hey, guys. How's it going out there? Before we talk about anything, can we just talk about how close I was on that prediction of last week in the UFC fight?
We could probably gloss over this. I don't think it's necessary to bring that up.
Bob, I'm just assuming you lost money on it. I wish I would have wagered money on it because my dude Justin Poirier came through for me with the knockout.
You don't even know his name. Yeah, absolutely heartbreaking. Oh my God. Yeah, I lost a good amount of money on that one, Ben, and so did most of the world. But hey, if you did place a wager, you'd be swimming in the dough right now because he's a big underdog.
Yeah, I called that, and then I also bought 10,000 shares of GameStop.
So you're having a
at
wonderful
$30.
weekend.
So I've had a pretty good week.
Do we think, is it too much if I take partial credit for starting this proletariat revolution based on all of the stuff we talked about during Ants in a Bug's Life last week?
I gotta think it inspired. It had to inspire those people. They probably heard the podcast and then thought, how do we take the man down?
Exactly.
I think you can lay claim to that, Jeremy. I think you can.
I mean, you do this job long enough, podcasting that is, and you realize there's no such thing as coincidence. You know what I mean? But we'll get into the detective work a little bit later when we review The Little Things. I think to start this week's episode, though, we're going to do something a little bit different. Do you guys have any history or preconceived notions when it comes to astrology?
I know virtually nothing about it up until very recently. Actually, I feel like this happens to me all the time. I'll be drunk somewhere and I'll be talking to somebody that's super into it, and they're just like, "What are you? Oh, that's total Aquarius of you." And like, that's somebody that's super into astrology and like just makes assumptions on my life based on what I am. And they always tell me what I am. Like, when's your birthday? You're this, and this. I never remember, but I know now what I am. But yeah, I have no really views on it. I think it's kind of bullshit.
I also don't really know much about it. I know I'm a Scorpio, and I think I only know that because of Drake's Scorpion album, and it made me think of that. So that's how I know I'm.
It made you fall in love even more.
Even more, but it's just like all the things like about astrology. Anything that describes one person is just so vague. They all describe every person. So like. Right. That's what you only look at your own though, and you're like, "Oh, I am that." So it's just all a scam to me. I don't believe in all that shit.
What do you think of it, Jeremy?
I have no previous history with it, really. I know I'm a Cancer, just based on my birthday. I don't know what that means. I've never really looked into it that much, but I follow enough people on Twitter that are into it that I see some stuff every now and then, and it got me thinking, there's gotta be oodles and boodles of lists out there telling us what kind of movies we should watch based solely on our zodiac signs. And so that's what we're going to do today. We got a couple different lists here. We're going to see, based on their recommendations, how accurate we believe them to be. But before we get into that, let's just set a baseline here. I'm looking at allure.com, and they are...
good website.
They just kind of gave us a little list here of some of the general personality traits for each of our signs. So as I mentioned, I'm a Cancer, and according to Allure, they say Cancer is a cardinal water sign represented by the crab. This crustacean seamlessly weaves between the sea and shore, representing Cancer's ability to exist in both emotional and material realms. Cancers are highly intuitive, and their psychic abilities manifest in tangible spaces. For instance, Cancers can effortlessly pick up the energies in a room. What do you guys think? Does that sound like me?
That sounds like a bunch of bullshit.
I'm like, what the hell are you even reading right now? How is that?
Yeah.
I don't think that describes you, Jared, but if you want to believe it, I'll let you.
It sounds like a fantasy, but I could see how, if you were into it, I feel like Jeremy can pick up the presence in a room. I feel like most people can. So if I was a Cancer and I read that, I would be like, oh my God, that is totally me. Like, I see how people fall into it. But no, Jerry, I don't really think that's you, if I'm being honest.
I have noticed that my psychic abilities tend to manifest intangible spaces, so that one seems to have hit it right on the money. But Ben, what do we think? What do we think about this description for Scorpios? Scorpio is one of the most misunderstood signs of the zodiac. Because of its incredible passion and power, Scorpio is often mistaken for a fire sign. In fact, Scorpio is a water sign that derives its strength from the psychic, emotional realm.
Yeah, that's
That
spot
kind
on.
of sounds like Ben, which is weird. Ben's a very
No, that
intense
doesn't-
guy,
I
very
don't-
competitive. I think that almost does kind of describe you, dude, a little bit. Like in,
Yeah, but
in a
I've-
competitive way, you're emotional, you know?
But I've always thought I was misunderstood. That it's not a fire, Bob. It's more watery.
You're a watery guy.
Well, we're water brothers, apparently, Ben. Did we both pick water when we did our Avatar episode?
I think we made Bob take water. I think I took fire.
Okay. Well, then maybe you guys are a little bit backwards, because Sagittarius is represented by the archer. Sagittarians are always on a quest for knowledge. The last fire sign of the zodiac, Sagittarius launches its many pursuits like blazing arrows, chasing after geographical, intellectual, and spiritual adventures. I know when I think of Bob, I think about his endless quest for knowledge.
Yeah, that one's a little off.
His spiritual adventures are going to bars and getting hammered.
Yeah, if that.
So
I
that
mean,
might be spot on there.
wait, so I'm an archer. You're a crab, Jeremy, and Ben is a scorpion.
That is correct.
Those are kind of bad. I mean, yours isn't, Jeremy, but like mine's pretty badass. So is Ben's. I mean, you're a fucking crab. You're Mr. Krabs.
Yeah, mine kind of suck. But
Call Jeremy Mr. Krabs for the rest of this episode now.
Hey, Mr. Krabs.
it's yeah, not ideal. There's definitely cooler ones out there. I'll give you that. But let's get into our first movie-based list here. This is coming from yourtango.com. Article is best type of movie to watch on Netflix based on your zodiac sign. This is the most general category, kind of just looking at different genres.
Can I make a prediction? I just feel like all your movies might suck, Jeremy. I don't know why. Now that I know that your thing's a crab, I just feel like mine are going to be like action movies, Ben's are going to be like dramas, and yours are going to be like shitty comedies. I don't know. Just a quick assumption. We'll see. We'll see what happens though.
We'll see if that comes true. According to yourtango.com, best movies to watch on Netflix for a Cancer. They recommend tearjerker films.
Okay.
Recommendations include Dallas Buyers Club or Triumph of the Heart. Can't say I've seen either of those. Can't say I've seen too many tearjerkers either.
I saw like the first half hour of Dallas Buyers Club and couldn't get into it, so I think it almost won. He won the Oscar for it, right? Matthew
Yeah, he
McConaughey,
did,
but
I'm
that's all I
pretty
really
sure.
know.
So, I don't know. What, do you guys know me for
Not buying it?
am I recommending too many tearjerker films your guys' way?
Not that I can remember. No.
All right.
If
well,
it would have just said Marvel, I would have been holy fuck. This is spot on.
that would have been scary, honestly. Let's look at the Scorpios. They recommend thriller films. Examples include Outbreak or Olympus Has Fallen.
I hate both those movies. So
Those
yeah,
are
we're
the
doing it
first
somewhat-
examples of a
for
thriller
thrillers.
Yeah.
That's what they came up with.
on Netflix.
Yeah.
What year is this Is this article from like 2010 when Netflix first started to get movies on it? Because how are those the first thriller movies that come to mind?
Dude, I think I watched Outbreak when COVID like first started. So
Yeah,
I was-
Outbreak
and,
sucks.
and it sucked. It was such a bad movie.
Yeah, it was bad. I did not like that. And Olympus Has Fallen. That's a good movie though, but you can't deny.
Would you call it a
last
thriller?
week we talked about it. Right?
Isn't it pretty strictly just a dumb action movie?
Action movie, yeah. Like
Yeah,
there,
it's
I guess
generic as
Outbreak's a
fuck.
thriller, but yeah, White House. Now I just think it's White House Down because those movies are the same exact movie like we talked about last week.
Yeah, interesting examples for thrillers, but Ben, I don't think thriller is too far off for you, is it?
Yeah, that's not terrible, but just not the right movies.
All right, this list for Sagittarius recommends romantic comedy films. Examples include Bride for Rent or You're My Boss.
Oh, there you
Two
go.
of Bob's favorites.
Seen both of these very recently. I don't know. I do like romantic comedies, so I don't think that's too far off. Once again, how the fuck are those the example movies? There's nothing else on Netflix that's a romantic comedy. I can name 50 romantic
There's
comedies.
1,000 rom-coms on Netflix,
Yeah.
and those are the two that came
Every
up with.
Adam Sandler movie's on fucking Netflix. So
50 First Dates they couldn't put there?
I think that I think that's not off though. I definitely do like romantic comedies. So a little okay. Jeremy's was off, Ben's was on, mine was on.
All right, well, that's one list. We'll see how the rest of them do here. Our next one coming from The Nerd Daily. These are just random movies, specific movies to watch based on your zodiac sign. For Cancer, they recommend Coco, one of the Pixar movies I have not seen.
I think it's supposed to be a really good one, though.
I think it's good, yeah.
Only heard good things about it, but cannot say I've seen it. Pixar, typically, pretty high batting average, so I'm willing to believe it's a good movie.
Think you'll watch it?
Maybe I should now. Maybe this will be the straw that breaks the camel's back. I finally watch Coco.
And you'll be so into Zodiac shit.
Yeah, we've been talking about Coco every week, I feel like, off the podcast, so I'm surprised you haven't seen it yet.
Maybe. We'll get there. Ben, a movie I'm pretty sure you've seen. For Scorpios, they recommend Zodiac, appropriately.
All right, that's stupid, but it's a great movie. I mean, great movie. It's too long, but it's one of my favorite movies.
Fringe top tenor. That's a great movie.
It is a very good movie.
I'm pissed these are on.
Yeah, yours, Ben, your whole thing is
But that's what they do.
on.
They just put out like good movies like that people will be like, "Oh, that sounds good." But other than that, it's just generic. See, like Bob, it could have been Zodiac for you. You'd be like, "Oh, that's spot on."
Oh, dude, that's so Scorpio of you to say that.
I'll let you guys know. According to this list, I was 3 days away from my movie suggestion being The Avengers. So.
Oh, hey, you know what I said earlier, Jeremy? You got to go back and look at the moon on your birthday. There's a fair chance that it might be The Avengers.
So maybe I'm actually a Leo. Like I said, I'm only 3 days away. Bob, your recommendation as a Sagittarius is About Time. I believe it's a rom-com with Rachel McAdams.
I have literally never heard of that.
I've heard of In Time, my favorite Justin Timberlake film.
Yeah, that's a good one. I don't know why I only get shitty movies recommended for me.
Yeah, it's on Netflix right now, Bob. So go watch that.
What if I watch it and I fucking love it?
I mean, I'm a fan of Rachel McAdams, so maybe I'll watch it with you. All right, so far, what do we think we're batting overall here? Like 500, give or take?
Yeah, it's not terrible so far.
Ben's is pretty spot on so far. Yours, out of all of it, not spot on, but yours is the most that, like, so far it's made enough sense.
Yeah, and I'm the least, I buy into it the least, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, maybe not after today. Might sway you.
Maybe we'll make you a believer here, Ben.
Big Astrology Boys, your other podcast.
Let's see what recommended holiday movies we get. This is from HelloGiggles.com. Only the most reliable sources here.
Yeah, this is
Hello Giggles. What is the predominant, like, thing about that website? What the hell does Hello Giggles do?
Could not
What's
tell
Hello
you.
Giggles? They have a good article about the insurrection, Bob. You should read it.
Yeah, they mostly do political commentary, but they made one exception for this article here. The holiday movie they recommend for cancers is A Bad Mom's Christmas.
Holy shit.
Didn't know this movie existed.
It's terrible. I watched this movie and it's terrible. Bob, did you like it?
No, who's in it though? Is Queen Latifah in it?
No, it's
this strikes me very Queen Latifah for some reason.
The image I'm looking at here is Catherine Hahn in it.
Oh, it's Mila Kunis. That's why I couldn't think of her name. And Kristen Bell's in it.
Wait, you're thinking of Bad Moms Christmas? Is that a spin-off of Bad Moms?
Yeah, it's like the sequel.
It's part of
made a Bad Moms Christmas
cinematic universe, yeah.
Exactly.
I can't believe that movie got a sequel. Holy shit. That movie probably sucks.
Yeah, I can't say I'm convinced to watch that one. Ben, as a Scorpio, your recommendation is Bad Santa.
Fucking love that movie. God damn
it. Yeah. Dude, you're so Scorpio, dude.
Shut the fuck up, Bob.
That's
no, I have to look at the
moon
to see what it was. What's the thing before Scorpio? Because that could be that.
For Libras, it was Love Actually.
I hate that movie.
Yeah. No, you're so Scorpio.
You're a Scorpio tried and true, Ben. That's what we're learning. Bob, as a Sagittarius, your recommendation is It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, good classic movie. All right. I mean, I've only seen that like one time. It's pretty good.
It is a classic, though, so... All right, those are the holiday movie recommendations. I think this next list. This will be what we measure the accuracy of all this on. We've got Halloween movies based on zodiac sign. This is coming from
When did this article come out?
popsugar.com, October. So this past
Oh man,
Oh
if
my
Bob's is
God,
Hubie Halloween, I
please,
swear
Hubie
to God.
Oh, let's go.
for cancers, they recommend Beetlejuice. Maybe
Oh, you
the
like
only
that one.
movie so far, that I can get behind. And I'm pretty sure, was this not my
You don't-
first pick when we did our
Yeah, it
Halloween
was.
draft?
I think
think
so,
it
and you don't
was.
even like Halloween movies. You don't like holiday
Exactly.
movies in general, so.
You're so cancer, dude.
This is the first one that makes a little bit of sense here. Let's see, for Scorpios, Ben, your recommendation is Halloween.
I've never seen it, but
You've
I'm
never
okay with
seen
it.
the original Halloween?
no, I haven't. I'm
That's
not a
shocking.
big scary movie boy.
That's shocking. You should watch that now.
I think
Ben.
when
I
we
think
did the
you'd love
draft,
it.
I picked like Halloween Town. I don't think Halloween is similar to that movie. I could be wrong. Are they similar?
No.
Well, you know what? Maybe Pop Sugar got these backwards because for Sagittarius, they recommend Halloween Town.
What the hell? Is Hubie Halloween
Bob,
on
you-
the list?
You love Halloween Town. I'm sure Hubie Halloween didn't make the cut in 2020. They did just the classics, it sounds like.
Who is it for? Is Hubie Halloween on there? Because if it's like the one before or after me, I'm looking at the fucking moon on my birthday, dude. I'm gonna go back in time. I need to find this out.
No,
Hubie Halloween,
Hubie Halloween is not on this list.
son of a bitch. Well, Halloween Town is good. I know it's Jeremy's least favorite movie in the world, but I like it.
I don't think I said that. I think you're putting words in my mouth, but...
And you said, I hate this movie.
All right. Well, that one, overall, maybe the most accurate list between the three of us there. That one, Halloween movies.
I'm sure I wouldn't hate Halloween, so
No, you'd like
I'm
it.
okay with it.
All right, our final list here. This is from Screen Rant. Disney movies based on your zodiac sign. For cancers, they recommend Hercules. Pretty good one. I wouldn't call it one of my favorite Disney movies, but it's not bad.
It's a good one. Yeah.
Bob, how many times have you seen Hercules? 100?
150. No, I've seen Hercules. I like Hercules. I've actually only seen it like once or twice. Good movie, though.
Haven't remade that one yet.
Oh, they will.
No, I want the in-person, the what is it, live action? I want that one.
They actually did make a live. I was just about to make a joke saying that they should cast Dwayne The Rock Johnson, but then I literally remembered they did a Hercules movie like 5 years ago with Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
That wasn't part of this new era of just remaking Disney films, though. That was kind of
standalone.
predated that, yeah. For Scorpios, they recommend Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Have you ever seen that?
That's my favorite one to watch in French class when you have a substitute teacher.
So you have seen this one plenty of times.
I've seen it plenty of times, but only the first 30 minutes.
And only in
Always,
French.
and only in French, yes.
All right, well, Ben, I don't want to say anything, too out of left field here, but it sounds like this is pretty accurate for you, at least. Overall.
I'm a big astrology boy now. I'm gonna have to look into all this now and change my whole life.
Yours is like pretty I can see how people get behind this stuff because yours is pretty accurate.
And finally, for Sagittarius, the Disney movie they chose was The Princess and the Frog.
What the fuck?
That's wild, Bob. You always talk about this movie. I'm like, is he gonna shut up about this movie?
I don't even know which one that is.
I didn't know that was a movie. I thought it was like a book. Well, I'm sure it is that too, but
Yeah, I think this one came out in like the last 10 years. This is definitely after our time watching Disney princess movies.
I don't even know what it is. I'm gonna have to look. I'm looking up a picture right now. Oh, okay. All right. I haven't seen this, but I know what movie this is. Yeah, I've never had any desire to watch this ever.
Until today.
I might. It's probably good. Honestly, it's probably a good movie.
Yeah, I mean, I would be surprised if it sucked, but... So what do we think overall? Are you guys going to do your full signs now and read your horoscopes every day?
I'm gonna live my life based on astrology now and the moon and the stars.
I'm gonna forget that I'm a Sagittarius by the end of next week.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm convinced. Mine were pretty off. If anything, I might do some research to see if I'm actually a Leo.
You might have been. Have you seen your birth certificate recently?
That's a very good point. I may have been celebrating the wrong birthday all these years. But now that we've got our astrology down pat, we've proven the science there. We can no longer call it bullshit. Let's move on to our review this week of The Little Things. Little Things was released January 29th, 2021 as part of HBO, or rather Warner Brothers' initiative to destroy all movie theaters. This was written and directed by John Lee Hancock, who wrote Snow White and the Huntsman. He directed The Rookie, The Founder, and The Highwaymen, and he wrote and directed The Blind Side. This movie stars Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, and Jared Leto. It's a brand new movie, just came out this past weekend, so we're going to keep it spoiler free, at least to start. We'll let you know when we are switching and discussing spoilers. Ben, we'll start with you. What are your general impressions going in, and then did it meet your expectations?
Yeah, I had pretty high expectations, I guess, just because of that cast you listed, just those three alone. And then it was probably a little too long, but overall, I think this movie kind of met my expectations. Denzel and Rami Malek were both like pretty cool. Any scene where it was those two, I kind of felt myself loving the movie. And then like other scenes where like it was just one of them or neither of them, I found myself kind of waiting for them to come back onto the screen. But overall, I mean, I did enjoy this movie. It felt good to watch like a new movie and like be excited for it, and wish I could have like actually seen this movie in theaters, because I feel like this is a movie I would have seen in theaters. And I guess I could have, right? It was in theaters, but obviously watched it at home. But it was it felt a little normal. I went out to dinner before and then watched this movie. It felt like a normal night. So it was overall a good movie, I would say.
What about you, Bob?
Yeah. Do you guys know that I actually know somebody that saw this in theaters?
That's
Isn't that wild?
Crazy.
Yeah, dude.
That is crazy.
So, yeah, shout out Rosie Brown if you're listening. Anyway, she lives in Albany, and I guess they do a thing where you can rent out a theater for like 20 people. And it's, it's like sort of like a close, like your friends and family sort of thing. And you get the theater, and they sanitize it. You go in and you watch it. She saw it. She paid money, went to a theater and watched it. I watched it on my fucking couch. Anyway, I had very, very high expectations for this because of the cast. Honest to God, one of the better trailers I think I've seen, definitely in the past like year and a half or so. Fire trailer got me super excited. Star-studded cast, and I think I went in with too high of expectations, so it slightly didn't live up to the expectations. It was probably like a step or two below where I thought or where I was expecting this movie to be. Still really liked it. Jared Leto, I think, stole the show for me. Obviously, Denzel, one of the best actors of this generation. Denzel killed it. Rami Malek, I haven't seen much of him, honestly. This is probably the most I've ever seen him on my screen, and I don't know how to feel about him, if I'm being honest. Jared Leto stole the show, though, as I said earlier. But even though it was underwhelming for what I was expecting it to be, I don't think it was bad. I think it was still a good watch. What do you think, Mr. Krabs?
Good one. I think I only saw the trailer once, and it was enough for me to at least be interested in the movie. I wouldn't go as far as to say it blew me away, and I'm not going to call it one of the best trailers I've seen, but it was certainly enough to get me to watch it. The cast, I'm not a huge Rami Malek fan, but obviously Denzel and Jared Leto are very good, so that was enough to get me interested. And I wouldn't say I was like super excited for it until I saw that it was the same director who did The Highwaymen, which is a Netflix original movie from 2018,
like that movie,
2019. Yeah, I like that movie a lot. So I definitely recommend that movie if you haven't seen it. It's on Netflix. When I finished the movie, I really didn't know how to feel about it. I didn't have super high expectations going in, and when it ended, I was just like, I was confused. I was really not sure what to think of it. I think I'm still kind of making up my mind and might continue to make it up as we have this conversation. I certainly didn't think it was a waste of time or anything. I agree with Ben, it was a little long, but I would still recommend it even before I've kind of completely made up my mind on what I might give it as far as a rating or something like that. We can keep it spoiler free still, but to me, it just felt like a lot of it was stuff we've seen before. Ben, I know you mentioned this before we recorded as well, where it's a movie that was written in the early 90s, and it certainly feels that way. It doesn't feel like it really innovated on this genre too much.
It was written in 1993, and it just got like pushed to the side, probably because like it is kind of like we've seen this movie before, and like not this exact movie obviously, but we've seen versions of this movie, and it feels influenced by movies. But it was interesting to me that at least it's 28 years old, and it kind of feels that way. But like I wonder why they didn't update it. I'm glad it was like a 90s themed. I appreciated that aspect of it a little more, but it didn't feel like super cool to go back and watch it, I guess.
Yeah, it's not overtly 90s. It was cool because I just watched the Night Stalker thing on
Yeah.
Netflix. And like, yeah, there's a little, they talk about the Night Stalker in it. Shout out to the Night Stalker.
Yeah, Bob, when they
He's a big
mentioned
fan.
that, when they mentioned that part, like we can't have any problems, like the Night Stalker or whatever. I felt like that Leonardo DiCaprio meme where I pointed at the screen. Or whatever.
Yeah, no, I did the same thing, dude. I was just like, oh, okay, wow, things that I'm watching right now are tying in slightly. Yeah, but it didn't really hit you over the head with the 90s aspect. I thought the cars and like things like that, that's really where I felt like the 90s aspect of it. Not really when it came to like the clothing or anything they were wearing, because they're mostly just wearing, suits and fucking like, I don't know, cop
Sheriff's outfits, yeah.
Yeah. But I think it was good. It definitely gives you that 90s feel, but it doesn't hit you over the head, and they're not trying to like I wouldn't be watching and be like, oh, this is in the 90s, Like I wouldn't really pick up on that unless I saw that thing in the beginning where they mentioned that it's 1990.
1990.
Yeah, other than that though, I think they just like set the scene enough and give you the vibe of the decade enough that I was a fan of that. But yeah, I don't know. Jeremy, what do you think about, I don't know, maybe like the clothing or the cars or anything? Like, did you think it was over the top? Did you think it was just enough, just too little? Or what do you think?
No, the cars felt like they were in the 90s. The fact that they don't have cell phones is really like what makes this set in the early 90s. That's really, I think, the only thing that separates it is the fact that they use payphones. Like,
Yeah, that and the beepers. Like when the beeper went off, I was like, "What the fuck? What's going on? Why don't they have cell phones?" And I forgot that they said the 1990 thing at the very beginning.
I guess my original point was more so not that the movie is like set in the early 90s so much as it's a movie that came out in 2021 that feels like a movie that could have come out in the early 90s. It doesn't feel like it took this thriller crime drama and did anything new with it that we haven't seen before. If this movie came out in 1993, maybe it would have been seen as more innovative, as more different, but
I totally agree with that. That's a good point. Because we've seen all this. Yeah, it makes sense because, yeah, a lot of the stuff, like you said, we've seen before. And if this movie came out when it was written, it probably would have been groundbreaking. But it's just a lot of movies like this genre, and a lot of the tropes have just been beaten to death. So that's why, I don't know. That's not a knock against the movie. I won't say it's a knock against the movie, but it's definitely something while you're watching it that you notice. That it does feel like you've seen a lot of these scenes before.
Yeah, and like how they're talking about like the throwback, like something obviously in Denzel's past is like haunting him, but they wait until the end. It kind of just felt like I wasn't
Cliche.
even like, yeah, it felt super cliche, and it wasn't like a huge twist almost. I wasn't even like, oh my god, what?
You
It
saw the
was
twist
just kinda like,
coming
oh.
from the start. Yeah, and it's
Yeah,
not even
exactly,
like you saw
yeah.
the exact twist. You're just like, there's a twist. We know
Yeah.
there's going to be some type of twist. Like,
We know there's something that haunts Denzel, and I don't know if this is three different actors. Yeah, like Rami Malek can probably be replaced, but or like stay the same or whatever. Like if you put in two other like different actors than Denzel and Jared Leto, I don't even know if I'm enticed to watch this movie
no.
because in the trailer, but yeah, the trailer's not great. Like it's not otherworldly, but the way they show Jared Leto in it, and like in the
that's
in like
the main thing.
interrogation room or whatever, that's the part where I'm like, oh, this movie looks sweet.
the thing
That's
that
what made
sold
me
me.
wanna watch it.
That's
Yeah.
that's why I mentioned how I really liked the trailer. It was mostly Jared Leto's not performance in the
Appearance.
trailer, but the clips. Yeah, absolutely. The way he looks in this movie, from the trailer, the first time I saw it, I was like, holy shit, like that looks sweet, you know? Like that's what really sold me is his appearance in the trailer, and even him in the movie. Oh, dude, I
He
thought
does.
Jared Leto was
He's really
unbelievable.
freaky. Yeah, he does a really good job.
He's such a good actor. Yeah, that character that he's playing just feels super real, and I hope nothing fucking breaks in my apartment and somebody has to come fix it. That guy, yeah, intense. I don't know why he doesn't wear regular clothes ever.
Who's scarier, Jared Leto in this movie or Jared Leto in The Suicide Squad?
Jared Leto in this movie.
Yeah, I just don't like him as the Joker, so definitely this movie. While watching this movie, Rami Malek seems like he could have just played the serial killer and they'd made no adjustments to his face.
I knew there was some type of twist coming. There was like a fleeting moment during probably the middle of the movie where I'm just like, I think Rami Malek's the killer. Because he's so creepy, isn't he? Creepy.
He's such a creepy dude, and the way he talks and the way his lip just kind of like an over. But I don't even know how it is. He just looks so creepy.
The way that he interacted with his wife during the movie was one of the times where I was thinking, and his wife sort of looks like kind of like some of the women that were murdered a little bit. I was really reading into it. I was like, oh, I'm gonna catch this twist. So I was like really trying to like predict the big twist, which there wasn't really a big twist at all.
Spoiler: it's not Rami Malek.
Yeah, there you go, everybody that's listening. Anyway, though, there's some moments in the movie where Rami Malek feels like he could maybe have been the bad guy, and I was trying to pick up on it, but yeah. Spoiler alert: it's not Rami Malek, guys. Watch the movie for yourselves.
Yeah, he of the three, he was definitely my least favorite. I don't know that I'm a big fan of his in general. Granted, I haven't seen too much stuff he's in, but for me it was Denzel Washington. I'd put at number one, close second Jared Leto, distant third Rami Malek.
I concur.
I want to agree, but I think Jared Leto is what I think he's the best of the three, because without him being creepy, this movie kind of is just like a normal detective movie. So I give Jared Leto one, Denzel close second as a cool cop. Love Denzel and everything, and then Rami in distant three.
Denzel really showed you why he's Denzel in this movie. I'm like you think about like some of the best actors of this generation. You think of like Leonardo DiCaprio and like obviously like other big names like that. And Denzel's up there, but like as a guy, at least I'm speaking for myself, somebody that doesn't see a lot of Denzel. When I watched him in this movie, he put on a good performance. So he and Jared Leto is a he's a A-list Hollywood celebrity as well. But Denzel is in the upper echelon of actors.
He's like first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, and I look at somebody like Jared Leto, and I think maybe in this movie he might have a better performance. But with Denzel's name value, that's why I think he slightly goes past Jared Leto for me. But yeah, the character I like more is Jared Leto's. I mean, I think that's just I would kill to see like him do another role like this or something. I don't know. He's very interesting. I really like that character.
I think Denzel just does a really good job of kind of expressing in his face and everything else kind of the weight of his past coming back and
absolutely
being the sole thing on his mind at all times. And Jared Leto is just kind of a freak in real life, so I'm not sure that it was that hard for him to, transition into this role here. But one of the last things I'll bring up while we're spoiler free is I noticed just kind of like some amateurish mistakes in like the filmmaking of this movie, mostly in continuity errors, which are I'm sure you can find in every movie. Typically, it wouldn't be something that sticks out to me until I rewatch a movie a few times. But there were a few pretty blatant ones in this movie that I picked up just on my first viewing of it. I don't know if you guys noticed anything like that as well.
No, not particularly. Not anything that I can name. I feel like if you were to mention some of them, I might get my memory jogged. But I think in the moment, they probably just went right past me.
Yeah, I'm with Bob on this one because I feel like normally for the podcast, I've been taking notes when we do the movies, but when we watch the movies, but for this, I just wanted to watch and enjoy the movie. So I wasn't like even trying to look out for deeper things. I'd have to watch this again to actually try to find those.
Yeah, there's just a handful of like, it's mostly just like in a scene when they cut to different angles and characters are very obviously in different places, or there's like car scenes where they're clearly very obviously on different sections of the highway than they just showed in the previous shot. So like I said, normally stuff that wouldn't stick out on a first viewing, but for whatever reason definitely stood out on my first viewing of this movie. But It happens. It is what it is. You guys have any other spoiler-free thoughts before we move into spoiler-filled discussion?
No, I don't think so. Let's talk about the ending.
Well, let's give everyone a second here to pause the podcast if you don't want it spoiled for you. I believe we all agree that you should watch this movie. We all recommended it. So if that's the case, it's on HBO Max right now. Go ahead, pause the podcast. We'll be here when you return. But now we are going into full spoilers. Do we really need to jump straight to the ending?
No,
or
No,
can
no,
we,
no. I have to get it off. I have to get it off my chest. Now that we're in spoiler mode, I just want to say, yeah, we're gonna jump to the fucking ending. It was a joke at first, but it's actually the number one thing I dislike about this movie, and I'll let you know it. Let's just get right into it. The fucking giving the red beret or beret, whatever. I don't even can't say that word. Whatever that thing is, the fucking clip that he gives Rami Malek at the end. What the fuck happens when someone dies tomorrow? It's clearly knows. Right away, I was like, but that's so stupid. That it was like, oh, that's at first you're like, oh, that's a really nice ending. Like he's helping him get closure, and now he's not going to go crazy like Denzel did, thinking about this case all the time. No, it's going to be so much worse because he's going to immediately know that he didn't catch the guy because someone's going to fucking be on the 6 o'clock news with their goddamn heads or their throat slit in a bag over their head, and he'll be like, well, it wasn't him.
All right, well, we should back up and provide context for anyone who didn't watch the movie and is listening to this because no one's going to understand what that means. But yeah,
whatever.
A lot of the big issues with this movie, in my opinion, are there's no likable characters by the end.
No, not really.
And we can get into how all of it happens, but...
Can we talk about the first scene then? Because I thought that scene set the movie up really cool. And I definitely thought that girl was going to die. It's a cool kind of car scene. And you put yourself in in her shoes. And we kind of can't because we're men. But like we don't really know the fear she's going through. But I was just so scared watching that scene. And when she gets out of the car to go and try to get in that diner that's obviously closed, I'm like, what are you doing? Keep driving. Just go 100 and get out of there. I hate when people do that. Why would you get out of the car? That was very stupid of her. And she lucks out, obviously, and a truck comes and saves her life. But that was just a super... That was probably my favorite scene of the movie because I wanted more of, like, they don't really show him... They show one other scene where the killer finds like a girl who's running out by herself, but that one wasn't even that scary because it just kind of goes away quickly. So that scene was like the only one where you kind of see it. So this movie's long, and I thought you'd get more scenes like that to kind of set up that suspense and put you in the shoes of someone who might be killed in a second.
I did expect to see more POV of the killer.
I don't think the killer is supposed to be like the focal point, though. I think the more the focal point is like the way or Denzel Washington's like obsession with finding this killer, and like Rami Malek's like turning into Denzel Washington. So I think if you put those POV killer shots in, it would kind of like take away from what they were really trying to make the focus of the movie. Like the killer isn't the focus of the movie. The focus of the movie is Denzel like being obsessed with this case and Rami Malek becoming obsessed with this case too. At least that's what I think they were trying to do. So I actually like that we didn't get that much of the POV or the or any other scenes where the killer is like killing somebody, because I don't think that's what they were trying to go for.
I agree, because I definitely speed run figuring out who the killer is, assuming, if you want to assume Jared Leto is the killer. They do not dedicate a lot of the movie's runtime to them figuring out who Jared Leto is.
No, you're right. They basically decide it right away.
Yeah, Denzel figures it out in about 2 seconds that he's the prime suspect, at least.
He talks to the landlord lady who says, we were supposed to have the fridge repaired or whatever, and he's like, oh, okay, well then whoever killed her would have been the guy who was supposed to repair the fridge. He figures that one out pretty quick. And then obviously the bulk of the movie is trying to figure out whether or not Jared Leto is the killer. And one of the scenes that stood out to me as being way too long and weird was the car chase, quote unquote, where they keep ending up on other sides of the highway for some reason. It was a very strange scene.
I didn't understand it, and I don't know, maybe there's like a thing about California highways, and I couldn't like put it together in my mind how that was working. I get that like this guy clearly knows like the highway system very well for some reason, But
Like he's
like
constantly driving, and yeah, it just
I couldn't imagine. I was trying to think. I was like, wait, what the fuck? Like, how is he switching sides? I was trying to piece together like a landmark or something that I know where you could do that, and like I thought of a few, but I'm just like, it just wouldn't happen that quickly, you know? Like you just wouldn't be on the other side of the road right away. I just feel like it's just the way that lined up. I was like, that just doesn't seem practical or realistic.
yeah, and they didn't need to do it that long. Where it's just they changed the sides of the highway like 4 different times, and it's like
Yeah,
I feel like
one time would have been fine.
exactly like movies based in California. I think it's a thing where you have to show 15 minutes of the highway, otherwise it's not a California movie. They love to
Yeah.
talk about highways
That's
out
a
there.
good point.
Also, these motherfuckers, that's a very unrealistic 405 because, I mean, there was one
Yeah.
scene where he took them through traffic and, like, he was clearly, I think, fucking with them, making them, like, drive through traffic to follow him. But all the other scenes when they're on the highway, I'm like, you would not be going full speed right now because you'd be bumper to bumper.
Maybe in 1990.
No, there's
No.
that traffic's always been terrible. Yeah.
We are introduced to Denzel Washington as a deputy at some small California town or whatever. And then
Yeah, total Josh Allen vibes. I feel like that's the town Josh Allen is from. That's what it looked like to me. That was cool. I like that.
Fireball, yeah.
Yeah. I wish it was in Fireball.
Denzel gets sent to LA, which we learned he used to work there in homicide. And then apparently California just allows random officers from different jurisdictions to take vacation days and work on cases in different parts of the state.
That's my biggest flaw in this movie. It's just like just because Rami Malek decides that Denzel's a cool guy and he wants him to like give him some advice, he's just the second guy entering crime scenes and giving notes. It's just kind of like he's a sheriff's deputy, like in a different town.
And
I
he's
didn't
fully
think
working this case.
It's
Yeah,
funny because, like, in the beginning when he is wearing his like county deputy outfit, it's very striking how like out of place he looks. He looks like a
Yeah.
fucking mall security cop. And at first I thought the same thing, but I'm just like, why the fuck would they ever let this guy be coming in? But then you slowly learn that like he used to be the shit, and he's clearly like, I mean, whatever happened with him obviously, but he still used to be a very respected, I don't know, like crime scene. What the fuck is the name? What's his title? What was he? I almost said murder investigator. Homicide detective. Thank you. So, like, he's clearly like a respected and well-known homicide detective. He had his meltdown. Everything happened. But I think later that justifies it when you learn like how much of like the shit this guy actually was. So they're like, yeah, we need his help. Get him in here. It's fine. We all know him anyway. Bring him on in. But at first you're like, this would never fucking happen. He would never just be allowed onto every single crime scene like that, you know?
Yeah, that was usually one of the logistical questions I had. Like, are you just allowed to do? I hope you're not allowed to just work wherever you want. I feel like, sheriff's deputies should have a limited scope of power, but whatever. It's
They
a
are
movie.
cops. They do abuse their power a little bit, so that was realistic in that sense.
Well, and then we learn more and more about Denzel's past. We get pieces here and there, and ultimately it turns out that everyone kind of sucks, but so they figure out Jared Leto's their guy. They have no concrete evidence, even though they break and enter into his apartment. And they certainly set the scene to believe that Jared Leto is the guy.
Yeah, they want you to think that, but he also like said he murdered someone 8 years ago, even though it wasn't him. He just wants to like be a part of this world, but we don't know if he actually is a part of this world where he is a killer, or if he just likes the idea of being a killer, which is even weirder than being a serial killer to me. But I don't know. They do a good job of setting it up, and they also do a good job of never really letting you know. And Bob, you talked about like how with the red beret later on. I still in the end think he is the killer, but Bob, it sounds like you don't think he is.
I'm going to say the opposite. I'll be honest with you guys, and maybe this was just my feelings. I don't think there was anything that really pointed me in either direction, but I just think that to me, it feels obvious that he's not the killer. I don't know. I feel like they're dropping more hints about him not being the killer than him being the killer. Because obviously, like, there's the whole scene at the end where he's making him dig the graves. He obviously has some sort of sexual pleasure from the killings. Like when he sees the pictures. I mean, not obviously.
Denzel just grabs his dick. Says he's
that was without a doubt
Chinese math or whatever.
Without that was a fucking hysterical line. Without any like that was definitely the best scene of the movie though, which I think we'll talk about that in a minute. But no, I just feel like, at least for me, it just felt like he wasn't the killer. I felt like he was so obviously the killer that like he wasn't the killer, you know, like if that makes sense. And then like the scene with the beret and like
That because of what you said, because of him saying, "Oh, he'll just wake up tomorrow and there's another killing, he's gonna know." Part of me thinks that killing doesn't happen and he's able to sleep. I don't know.
I mean, you hope that for Rami Malek, but like I don't know. The feelings that I got from the movie are that Jared Leto wasn't the killer. I just don't think he was, dude. I really don't, and I think that's one of the better parts about the movie is that it's kind of an ambiguous ending. But yeah, I don't know, Jeremy. Did you think he was the killer? I know this is kind of this is sort of like the end of the movie. This is sort of like a final discussion thought, but I mean, we're already into it right now. I don't think he was the killer. Ben thinks he was the killer, or at least hopes he was the killer. What do you think?
I think this movie's biggest strength is providing enough evidence for both options. There's a lot of contextual evidence that would make you think that he is involved. They find Busch Light in the fridge. He drinks Busch Light. If that's the only prerequisite to being a killer, then lock me up. But he also knows where the mile marker was, where the one body was found. And he's just kind of a creepy dude in general, but there isn't any concrete evidence that puts him anywhere. They don't find any evidence in his impounded car. And I went back and rewatched the first scene, and the car that chases the girl is a different car than either of the two that Jared Leto owns.
All right, then you just solved the case, Detective Jared.
It also doesn't look like him. I mean, like, you only get a glance of the killer. It looked like he had short hair.
It did look like he had short hair, and Jared Leto has the long hair. But I don't know. He could have had it up in a bun and under a hat. I can't tell if he's got the hat. He has a hat on, right? I'd have to actually rewatch the scene.
Yeah, he was wearing a hat.
The roast beef is what does it for me. The roast beef, I figure it's... I like how they just throw that in there, that the girl was eating had roast beef and she was a vegan or whatever. And then it just shows Jared Leto going into a roast beef store. I'm presuming they couldn't get the rights to Arby's for this movie. Otherwise, he would have just walked into there. But I like how they had that part.
No, I like the generic roast beef store better. Well, I'll let you guys know the real detective work I did when going back to the first scene. And this is from hours upon hours wasted watching Criminal Minds. I think the killer from the first scene has a totally different MO than the killer Rami Malek is trying to find. Because the guy who stalks that girl at the very beginning, when he opens his trunk and pulls out his, kill kit, he's got duct tape in there. But the girls that Rami Malek is finding have been bound with whatever, wire or cable or something like that. Totally different MO.
Dude, Detective
look at
Mr.
that.
Krabs is on this case right now.
Look at you, Jeremy. That's a fucking great point. Honestly, good thing you waste so many hours watching Criminal Minds.
To solve fictional murders. I love it.
Can I ask a question to you guys, though? Do you think that... I mean, we can say whether or not Jared Leto's the killer. Now, do you think that the killer from Denzel's case when he was on, do you think it's the same killer that is the killer in this movie? Think it's the same guy with the 5-year gap? Do you think it's the same person?
It certainly could be. There's a lot of similarities there.
The bags over the head is what kind of tells me it is.
I think it is. I don't know.
And that's why Denzel's so involved in it. I mean, the twist, if we're basically at the end, anyway, the twist of Denzel doing the same thing as Rami Malek, it's not even close to the same thing. I don't feel bad. Rami Malek should not feel sad about killing Jared Leto because he was a creep. He was a shitty guy. Like, even if he wasn't the murderer.
They tried to parallel those. They tried to make it seem like it was the same thing, and I mean, yeah, they both killed somebody, but the way he killed somebody and the way Rami Malek did was not even remotely close.
Yeah, the real killer in Denzel's case was Denzel, and he is very much still at large.
Yeah, Denzel straight up just shot a random girl.
This felt like this is the most 1990 part of this movie is a cop murdering someone and no one ever hearing about it because this shit probably happened all the time. And he murdered just an innocent girl, and they're like, the medical examiner's just like, yeah, it's strangulation. What? There's a bullet in her chest and she wasn't strangled.
You're going to tell that little girl's mom and dad that she was strangled while there's a fucking 6-inch hole in her chest.
Was there no one else on that scene who heard Denzel's gun go off and then saw a dead girl there? With
I guess
in
they
her
just,
chest?
they're all just like, yeah, Denzel's a good guy, man. We're gonna go to bat for him. Like, no, you murdered somebody, Mr. Washington.
The captain or whatever is just like, tough day at the office. We gotta go home.
Like, fuck. All right,
They-
that's fine. Chalk it up to strangulation.
Yeah, there were probably 30 people at that crime scene. They make it seem like it's just him and his detective partner, but there's more people coming. They're all going to be like, well, one cop clearly shot this girl.
You know what I do love though is he shoots her because obviously he's under so much stress. I mean, he had that heart attack that they mentioned. He's under so much stress. He's so obsessed with this case. It's all that. I mean, it gave him a divorce and a heart attack. They mentioned it in the movie. But like, I always think about that. Like when I was watching Night Stalker on Netflix, they talked about like how many hours, like how much effort these guys put into this and like trying to find these killers and doing this and that. And there's so much work and the stress you're under. I like the idea of him being under so much stress and being so probably unfocused from like doing stakeouts and following people and just doing all this work that he would be not even trigger happy. That's not the word, but he'd be so like,
he was just rattled and he got scared.
Yeah, rattled. Yeah, and he ended up just shooting a girl. Like, I'm not saying that's cool. I'm not saying like let's fucking shoot people, but like that is something that I feel like when you think about these cops and think about these homicide detectives, it's something that like isn't like the first thing you think about when it should be. Can you imagine the stress of being on a case like this? And like those guys want to find the people, like they want to find the person that's killing somebody. And like it's totally realistic that he is so rattled that the fucking littlest thing he'd shoot her, like that was I liked that, because
I believe it.
Exactly,
I believe it happening,
it's
but
believable.
I don't like that they're just like, okay, tough day at the office, Denzel, go home, and then
I wasn't a fan of that.
He should be in prison. He should be in jail.
Wasn't a fan of how they just got to sweep that under the rug because I mean, but I almost wish you know what would have been better. I almost wish that like instead of him being shipped off to a little small town in California to be a sheriff, I almost wish this movie took place and he was like in jail for like 15 years or something. He came out and he comes back to be like a homicide detective again or something. But he served his time after killing this girl. I think that would have been a better beat,
I would have believed it more, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And then it almost would have, because I like Denzel the whole movie, and then you find out about that, and I was like, oh, I'm happy that this guy murdered somebody. He's completely fine, like he didn't go to jail or anything. It almost pisses you off. And like Jeremy said earlier, nobody's really likable by the end. And that's, I think, the thing that makes you not like Denzel. But yeah, maybe make it a different movie. Maybe put him in jail after he shoots this girl, or I don't know. It's obviously accidental, but make him serve some time. Make him serve 5 years in jail or something. Like instead of just having him go to this other fucking hillbilly town in California for 5 years.
It's like when Catholic priests molest a little kid; they just move you around, go to a different office.
Yeah, I don't know if this movie like tries to make a statement either way, but I'm pretty comfortable saying that both Rami Malek and Denzel Washington should be in jail for unjustifiably killing people. Different circumstances. Denzel Washington wasn't trying to kill someone he suspected of a murder, but either way, Jared Leto, not convicted of anything. Yeah, he's a creepy dude, but it doesn't give Rami Malek permission to be judge, jury, and executioner.
Do you know how hard he had to hit him?
I didn't think he was dead at first. I just thought he knocked his ass out, and then when you see the eyes open.
Do you know how hard you have to hit somebody with a shovel like that to kill them on sight from one blow? Rami Malek is Superman.
I also didn't see it coming. I know he was like stirring the pot and fucking with Rami Malek a bunch.
I saw him hitting him. I didn't see it killing him.
Yeah, I agree with that. I thought he was just gonna do that, but I didn't think he was gonna kill him. I didn't think Jared Leto was being that annoying where it was like, I have to kill this guy. I have to hit him. Obviously, he didn't try to hit him.
Did you think he was going to grab the gun?
That's what I was thinking was going to happen.
They were framing it that way. All the shots were like, the gun is just like so clear. Like it's like Rami Malek's like silhouette, and like the way the shot is like framed, his gun is like just clearly like protruding out and just up for the taking the whole time. So like I was watching, I was like, he's going to take his gun. He's going to take his gun. Like Jared. Also, like, why the fuck did Rami Malek get in the car and drive out there with him and then just start digging holes and once again, his gun's just sitting there. Like, is he insane? Does he feel that trustworthy around Jared Leto? Like, why would you not secure your gun or something? And like, clearly he's like, why isn't he like put a gun to Jared? I mean, Jared Leto fucking killed him. Put a gun to his head and be like, you dig the hole, motherfucker.
Exactly.
Like,
I don't know why that didn't happen.
Or like, why when they got in the car did they not like? Why did he not cuff Jared Leto and like put him in the back seat and be like, "You're gonna tell me where we're going, asshole"? Like, and I get that like Jared Leto was like, "It doesn't work like that," and like, "You can't bring your friend," and like, Rami Malek just wants to go out there.
Great Jared Leto impersonation,
right? But like, I just feel like that scene lost me a little bit because I'm just like, that would never happen. A cop would never just get in a car. Like, he'd have to cuff that guy. He'd be driving. He'd be telling him where he was going, and he would bring his partner. You know. And, like, yeah, Jared Leto said you couldn't do that. Like, you have to trust me. I'll show you if you do this. And same thing with digging the hole. I was like, the cop wouldn't be digging the hole and just letting Jared Leto watch. Like, or maybe it comes down to the stress thing and the obsession with the case. And at all costs, he wants to figure this out. So he lets his guard down. He plays Jared Leto's game. And he goes out there and does all these things that make no sense for a cop to do. But I think that's the way you can explain it away, is that he's just obsessed with the case, and he obviously just makes a ton of fucking mistakes.
I think my final thoughts on this movie is that the best ending would have been if another girl went missing or another body turned up, because it leaves it open to question. If you believe that Jared Leto was the killer, then I feel like it kind of justifies all of these unjustifiable actions. I think it would have been cool to see another body turn up, and then you realize that all of the shit they did was wrong, and it was for nothing, and nothing was solved in the end. I think that would have taken this movie a step further, and I probably would have liked it a lot more. That being said, I think I've determined that I still liked it. Not the greatest movie ever, pretty middle of the road, but more parts of it were better than worse.
I'll go ahead and agree with you, Jared. I think I would watch this movie again because maybe to even play detective like Mr. Krabs did there and try to actually find out what happened. I'm going to go ahead and say I think Jared Leto has done some bad things in his past, and I'm okay with Rami Malek. I'm mad Denzel didn't go to jail for his killing. I'm okay with Rami Malek being there for his family after he killed Jared Leto. But I wish, like Jared said, I wish there was a girl was found out, because that's going to happen. There's another girl that's going to die. I want to see like Rami. I don't need to see Rami Malek's like reaction to that, but I just would like to. You could still keep it open ended that way, but it at least kind of gives. I don't know. It's just a better ending because it's still open ended, and the Red Beret just. I called that. Like watching that movie, I just knew he was going to send the Red Beret, and I knew it was going to be fake. So it was. It was kind of easy to pick that one up.
Yeah, they mentioned it too many times so that you did see it coming. But I like that they didn't show it, because my first immediate thought was that that's probably going to happen. There's going to be another killing. Because I was under the impression that Jared Leto wasn't the killer. Like, almost like, probably like, with an hour to go in the movie, I was just like, it's not him, he's just fucking with them. So when it ends that way, I knew, at least in my mind, the way I'm watching the movie, I know that there's going to be another killing. So I didn't need to see the scene. But that's because I was convinced Jared Leto wasn't the killer. So I didn't need to see the scene because I knew it was going to happen, in this fictional world if this movie were to continue. But if I had to say, like, if I had to rank the movie, I was really hoping to God we had a 10 here. From the trailer and how excited I was for it, I was thinking we were getting a 10, just off of the actors and the star power there alone. It's still pretty good. I wouldn't call it really good. I'd give it maybe like a 7 out of 10. It's definitely above average. Will I rewatch it? I don't know. But I did really like it. It's just, I don't know. A couple scenes really had me, but it wasn't what I was expecting. I was expecting it to be just a little bit better.
All right, that'll do it for this week. The weeks ahead, we got plans for three of them. A little trilogy Bob's never heard of before called The Lord of the Rings. All 3 movies over the next 3 weeks. Ben and I will be losing our Lord of the Rings virginity.
I know. I'm going in with the lowest of expectations. I'm assuming it's terrible, and Bob's hyped this up way too much.
I just hope you guys learn to love it as much as I do. And I'll be doing a lot of research. I'm gonna watch it. I might actually watch one of them today, and I might actually watch it possibly twice before we do the first recording next week for Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. I'm very excited. I hope to bring a wealth of knowledge to you guys. Obviously, I've seen it more than you. I've read a lot of the lore about it. I'm pretty into it as a property. I really enjoy the Lord of the Rings. So I'm so excited. I mean, if you're a longtime listener of the podcast, You know how I feel with Lord of the Rings. We have a rule. We have a Lord of the Rings rule. But
Still don't know what it is, but it exists.
Still don't know what the Lord of the Rings rule is.
hey, well, after you guys watch the movies, you'll know.
Thank you for listening, and remember, it's the little things that get you caught. See you next week.